Bahrain remains the center of world motorsport this week, with the two-day post-race test featuring a few famous names. The biggest star being two-time F1 world champion Fernando Alonso, who will assess the MCL 34 for all but Wednesday morning, McLaren's ambassador and special advisor completing a program for Pirelli. F2 young gun Mick Schumacher will get the ultimate two-squad test, with the 20-year-old jumping into the Ferrari on Tuesday, his first proper outing for the iconic squad his father raced for, before heading to Alfa Romeo Racing the next day to complete his Ferrari-powered campaign. Over at Red Bull Racing, Schumacher's former rival, promising young gun Dan Ticktum, will get his first taste of 2019 spec cars on Wednesday, when he takes over from regular racer Max Verstappen. Over at Haas, Romain Grosjean will be in the VF19 on Tuesday, before handing over to Brazilian rising star Pietro Fittipaldi. Williams has its race drivers running on Tuesday, before switching to reserve Nicholas Latifi. Prior to stepping into 2019's MCL 34 at this week's post-Bahrain test, two-time F1 world champion Fernando Alonso was again extending his limits, flying into South Africa for time in Toyota's Dakar winning Challenger. The Spaniard is not expected to take part in 2020's edition of the world's toughest all-terrain endurance race, which this year covered almost 3,000 kilometers through Peru's southern deserts, and was won by Mathieu Baumel and Nasser Al-Attiyah in Toyota's 5-liter V8-powered Hilux. But Alonso spent 2 days out on the sand across two layouts, one 8-kilometer, another 17 kilometers. Liberty Media is yet to provide the complete details on 2021 plans, though has said the cars will be louder and race much closer. March 26 saw the Sports Strategy Group meet in London to learn F1's full 2021 framework, including technical changes to both chassis and power unit, and new financial and governance structures. A cost cap is expected to be introduced, with reports stating $135 million is now the end goal, gliding down from $220 million for 2020, although it's not known if next year's cap will be a soft one. F1's plans to move toward a standard gearbox have moved a step further, with 4 suppliers understood to have made bids for the tender. The FIA is hoping to reduce team costs by introducing a standard 7-speed gearbox from 2021, with the 4-year contract involving the gearbox internals and marking a real shift in the sport's ethos. British transmission specialist X-Track, which supplies control gearboxes for IndyCar and supercars, is the only supplier to have declared its bid. But McLaren and Williams have the capabilities. The sudden passing of FIA race director Charlie Whiting in Melbourne last month continues to make waves in the paddock, with the Brit irreplaceable as a one-man powerhouse on many levels. But the sport's governing body continued to try and fill the gap in Bahrain, retaining Australian Michael Masi as F1's race director, also handing him the role of safety delegate. Christian Brill, F1's logistics manager, was named permanent race starter, while Colin Haywood, former race control systems manager, stepped up to be deputy race director. The FIA will continue to strategize a long-term solution. Former Toro Rosso technical director James Key has finally taken up his new position with McLaren, with Bahrain his first race for the team after a week spent at the squad's Woking base. Once he's up to speed, Key's focus will be on McLaren's 2020 car, which will begin to take shape over the next few months, the initial discussions for which would have begun at the end of last year. And new McLaren driver Carlos Sainz, who worked with Key over at Toro Rosso between 2015 and 2017, is excited about Key's arrival. I have a great relationship with James from our Toro Rosso days, so it is nice to see an old friend in a new environment, Sainz said. He is going to be a great asset, I think. The Williams team remains in a critical condition, having played it safe in the first 2 races of the season with limited spares. F1 returnee Robert Kubica completed the season opener in Australia with a floor damaged over a curb during practice, which was not replaced, but repaired for the next round in Bahrain, where the hangover continued, with both drivers needing to stay off the curbs to conserve parts, leading the poll to state the obvious. In a perfect world, you would have fresher parts starting a weekend and having some spare parts in a good state, he said. Williams is still without a technical director, but has now brought in its co-founder Sir Patrick Head as a consultant to steady the ship. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.